how are we still here? It's a question that echoes in my mind as I ponder the incredible advances in our time. We've put men on the moon, explored the depths of the ocean. We have cars that drive themselves. The world literally at our fingertips, in the palm of our hand. Yet despite all of this, we are failing as a society in the realm of humanity. It was 1964 when the United States passed the Civil Rights Act. Landmark legislation established to end discrimination against Blacks and other minority groups. It's been 6 decades, and we are still facing systemic inequalities. Title VII of the Act is about the workplace, prohibiting discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. Women now make up 47% of the workforce, yet we remain vastly underrepresented in leadership positions and underpaid, especially Black women and other women of color. Organizations are required to provide workplace harassment prevention training every year. Yet harassment claims continue to climb, costing millions of dollars every year. It's like we're going backwards. So I guess a better question is, how do we move forward? How do we catapult our humanity to the same level as our technological advancements? Creating collaboration instead of competition, unity instead of division, kindness instead of vitriol. My advice, my official HR advice, don't be a dick. At least it's a start. And yes, I just said don't be a dick, so let's unpack that before I offend anyone further. I'm not talking about a person or a place or a thing. I am talking about a behavior. A behavior that causes harm to another person, intentionally or unintentionally. And it crosses all the boundaries: race, sex, religion, socioeconomics, politics. The reality is, we're all dicks. At least we can be, and we have been, and we will be again. That is part of the human condition. This particular phrase, which has become my moniker, came to me while I was presenting one of those workplace prevention, harassment prevention trainings. Much like today, I was standing in front of a room sharing statistics and laws. I even had PowerPoint slides. And as I looked around the room, I realized nobody was paying attention. They were looking at their phones. They were flipping through the slide deck. One guy, napping, for real. I know this because at one point he popped up with his eyes wide open looking around while trying to nonchalantly wipe the drool from the corner of his mouth. And at that moment, I got angry. and my mouth got ahead of my brain, which has been known to happen, and I just blurted out, "Don't be a dick." Of course, the room went silent. I immediately covered my mouth with my hands, horrified by what I'd said, and also a little afraid of what I might be saying next. But out of that silence, laughter erupted. That simple colloquial phrase, said with authenticity and honesty, changed the entire vibe of the discussion. I had gone from being the HR manager, standing up in front of everybody, giving the same speech and the same slides that they'd seen every year. And I became Lindsay, their HR advocate, their team member, whose office was around the corner, whose door was always open, who they came to when they had problems with their employees. And so we set aside the slides and the laws and the regulations, and we had a dialogue. We had an honest discussion about the challenges we face in the workforce. As we grow, as we become more diverse, questions like, how do we know? What do we do? Why is everybody so sensitive these days? And as we thought about that and talked about it, I decided to come up with a few acronyms. Don't be a dick, try kind. So let's use those words as a reminder. D is for dismissive, possibly defensive. I, insensitive, insecure. C, callous, even cruel. Okay, a killjoy. You know, the person who sucks all the energy out of the room, makes you want to crawl under the table. You don't want to be that guy. Instead, try kind. K is for kinship, community, connection. Why are we all here in the same space? What are our commonalities? I, inquisitive. Ask questions when you don't understand. And be introspective, looking inside as you listen for those answers. N, be nimble and flexible. Because we're behind, and so as this information is coming at you, it's going to seem like a lot. But just like the latest operating system on your phone, just download it and figure it out as you go. And D, be determined, be dedicated to do better. Maya Angelou said, and I'm paraphrasing, do the best you can until you know better. And then, when you know better, do better. I was recently at a leadership conference. It was day one. People were welcoming and milling around. And a gentleman approached our table to welcome us all individually. And as he went around the table, each person stood up and chit-chatted, and he gave them a big hug and said, welcome to each of them. And when he got to me, I stood up and smiled and extended my hand. And he kind of chuckled at me. And he's like, no, we don't shake hands around here. We're huggers. I'm a hugger. And he came in for a hug. And I stepped back. Like, that's okay. How about a fist bump or a high five? He wasn't sure what to do. And it got awkward. He had a choice to make. He was a hugger, I didn't want to be hugged. He opted for D.I.C.K. He was dismissive of my boundaries. He was insensitive to my words. He was cruel by impacting my personal space. And he was for sure a killjoy, because that ruined the conference day for me. And that could be the end of the story. But it is not. The end of the story is much better. You see, the second day, the next day, he found me, and keeping a very respectful distance, sincerely apologized, acknowledged that his behavior had been unacceptable, and asked for my forgiveness, promised he would high five or fist bump, whatever I felt comfortable with. He decided to try kind. K, kinship. He remembered why we were all there, what we were doing, how we were connected to one another. He was introspective and inquisitive, asking himself, why didn't she want to hug? Why didn't I ask why she didn't want to hug? Why did I hug her anyway? He was nimble, because that came within 24 hours. And he was determined and dedicated to be better. Because, see, that isn't the end of the story either. He was a speaker that day. And when he got on stage to share his story, he started with ours. To the whole conference, he shared what had happened the day before, acknowledging his mistake, once again asking for forgiveness, apologizing. Now, of course, he did not call me out. Most of the people in the room, it was just a story. But there were 6 men in that room who had observed the entire exchange. And he was determined to be the leader that he is and to make sure those men knew, regardless of how they had interpreted the interaction, that that wasn't okay. That that wasn't how we treated each other in this space. And it's really that simple. Remember to be kind, kinship, inquisitiveness, nimble, and determined. And if you find you're struggling to be kind, at least don't be a dick. Thank you.